Hi, George here. Would you like to be able to remove complex backgrounds with ease in just one click? Well, you can. My sponsor this week is Aiarty, and they have a great background removal tool called Aiarty Image Matting that makes complex jobs like this simple. And let's take a look at this. Here you go. This is the program. It's very easy to use. Simply open up an image. I have one here that I brought in. This is an image that I use for testing background removal. It's the most difficult image I've found, and this program handles it with ease. Go up here right-hand side. Choose your AI model. I recommend starting off with the Edge Clear model. And then down here you see a Start button. It will then go through with AI, figure the image out, and take out the background. And something I really like about this particular program is it runs on your computer, not online. So you don't need an active internet connection. You'll need one when you first set the program up, of course, but you won't need one once the program is set up and running. Of course, since it's on your computer, the better your computer, the faster it's going to work. Another real advantage here, of course, is because it's on your computer, it's not going to be online. It won't be uploaded to a server and then downloaded again to your computer, which means that your images are safe, and that can be very important in a business situation. Maybe you have product images. You don't want those leaked out accidentally. With the Aiarty Image Matting program, all of that stays on your computer. And the program has been optimized for working with GPUs, but it can work with either a CPU up here, or you can work with a GPU. I found my GPU right there. The better your graphics processor is, again, the faster this program will run. Let's take a look around quickly here. We have our main image area. And as you can see, once this was run, I can then scroll back and forth and see how that looks. On the left-hand side, we have some tools in here. Top tool allows me to move the image around or the background around. The next tool in here is an erase tool. And it can help you to adjust your matte if you want to. You can adjust the alpha, hardness, and size. And you can just come in here and then brush in. And as you can see here, I can actually brush things out like that and clean the map up that way. If you use Control-Z, that will back out of that. You also can add more in with a brush tool and a dodge tool, and there's also a burn tool right down here. So complete control over the areas being included or left out of your background. And undo and redo buttons right down here, and a reset button here takes you back to the original setting. And down here, you can have a mask highlight. This is enabled. I can change the color if I want to a different color. We can look at the mask itself right over here, right-hand side. So here's our RGB view, and here's the mask view. And you can see how well it has come in here and captured all of that hair and taken out that background. Again, there's the original, and there's the mask. Phenomenal job up here with this hair. Now, along with that, we have additional tools over here on the right-hand side to make this even better. We can choose a new background, click on background. That's our change background color. That's set for a white right now. And the red you're seeing, that is over here, and that is the mask highlight. There it is without the mask highlight, and here it is with the mask highlight. Or you can choose a new background. Just go over here, click on picture. You can then browse for a different background. Let's just choose a sky background in here. There we go. Here's a sky background. So very easy to come in here and change your backgrounds. Down below this, we have feather. This will come in here and actually feather out the edges a bit. Sometimes that is an improvement. One thing that's kind of nice on these tools over here, I can have the background open. Here's the background options. Here's the feather options. So I actually can get a whole list of controls down here from our options over here, right-hand side. Let's take out that background again, take out feather. You can blur the background out. You won't be able to see it here. So let's change our background. And I'll grab my sky background again. There we go. And come down to blur. We'll add blur in here. I'll blur the background. Click on that. We have a slider control right here. Or you can choose a fast blur setting. Little control for softening up the background if you want to. It's up to you. You can choose to blur the background or the subject. I'll just stay with background. Uncheck the blur in here. Uncheck our background again. You can convert your background to black and white. Let's bring in a different background this time. And browse. I'll just choose this city background right here. There you go. Here's a city background. I also can resize my image right there if I wanted to at this point. Let's just make this image larger. There you go. There's more of the background showing right in there. There we go. So let's bring in blur, and I can blur out that background. Very easy. Or we can convert the background to black and white. Or we can come in here and pixelate either the subject or the background. Let's just pixelate our background like this. Let's come to our subject. Let's unpixelate our subject. So there's a pixelated background. So a lot of creative tools on the right-hand side to help you complete your image without having to take this into a different program. I guess just uncheck some of those things. There we go, back to the original in here. You can zoom in and out if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse. So as you can see, very, very easy to use. Now, one problem with image matting, especially on things like hair, you can see it up in here, you may get some partially masked out areas, like we have some gray showing in here. That's areas that are partially transparent. In most instances, that's what you want. It'll give you the best look in here, and that normally disappears when you're working on a background. But you can come up here to the right-hand side, and in our right-hand tools over here, we can adjust that. I'll just pull this middle control down like that, grab the line, actually pull the line down, and I can minimize some of those midtones in there and tighten up that if it's necessary. Let's take a look at another example in here. Let's come down here to Add, click on Add, and I'll bring in this cat. Now the cat's on a solid dark background. So we have our new image. Let's put this right in the middle like that. And when you bring a new image in, again, come over here, find your model. I'll stick with the edge clear. We'll take a look at the different models here in just a bit. But to start your matting, come down here where it says Start, click on Start, and then it's going to make sure your AI models are loaded correctly. And it's then going to wait for an inference. And this simply means that the AI is going through and figuring the whole thing out. Once it's figured out, we'll see the transparency come over here in the right-hand side. Now, in this case, it should find the cat and this foreground piece as foreground elements and ignore that background. And the reason why I want to show this particular picture is because of that dark background in there that will frequently cause dark edge matting in here, a dark background behind this. So see some dark in and around the edges of the fur. If you replace the background with another dark background, that should not be a problem at all. But if you want a light background back there, you may have to adjust that, and that's where that control upper right-hand corner that we just looked at comes into play. And there we go. Let's go ahead and change the background on this one. There we go, a little table lamp in there. And you see how against the dark background, the matting looks great. Perfect because we have dark changed for dark. That's really your best case scenario. But let's say you wanted to put this on a light background. That's where this gets tricky. Let's go over here to our backgrounds again. I'll choose that sky background. There we go. And as you can see, we get kind of a haloing effect around where that edge is, where we had the dark showing through the light area on that mat. And that's where this tool up here comes in handy. Let's just grab this. You can pull this down a little bit, and we can minimize the dark parts of that mat. And by careful positioning, we can really clean up a lot of those dark edges and really improve that mat dramatically in here. There's a lot more, and there's a lot less. So very good at that edge refinement in here. And while we're over here right-hand side, let's go ahead and take a look at some of these things in here. We've already seen the hardware up here. On the models, you have 4 different AI models to choose from. The Alpha Standard can capture complex features while preserving translucency along edge and edge details. It's very good for semi-transparent objects, which could include hair, but also things like wedding dresses where you can see a little bit through the veils, things like that. It can handle those things. Alpha Edge utilizes deep convolutional layers and edge refinement techniques to preserve intricate details while enhancing edge sharpness. So that's very good at your semi-transparent images, whereas prioritizing the edge clarity over smooth transparency. Now, Edge Clear, this is the one that I normally use as my first shot on this, and this boosts the visual perception for a more precise matting on that edge, improves edge sharpness and detail, and it's good for lots of things: animals, birds, bicycles, cars, a lot of things with harder edges. And then the Solid Matte is good for things with very hard edges, your products, things like that. Perfect for that. Let's take a look at a more typical example over here. Just choose somebody with a nice clean background, a lot of stray hair in here. And we'll put a more interesting background on this one. I'll use the Edge Clear as my first try here. Choose Start. And let's go ahead and remove that background for us. And we'll then replace that with a much better background. And there we go. And again, real nice job on the hair. Now, if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, you can zoom in on this and actually move your image around. There we go. Get a much tighter view on that, or zoom out with the mouse. Again, very easy. Let's change our background in here. I'll switch this over to an image. And we'll take this nice skyline back in there. We can hide that if you want to, get that out of the way. There we go. So there's the full skyline. Now, left-hand side, we have a move tool. I can choose to move either the background or the foreground. I have foreground selected, so I can just move the foreground around. Maybe over here someplace. I need to crop out so we don't have any missing legs, something like that. But you can see what a nice job this does in here. Now, there's more that you can do on your editing, not just what we have over here left-hand side. On our controls right side over here, we can upscale this as well. You can upscale before or after you do the background removal. We have different options in here for upscaling. You also can flip your image or rotate it. There's image rotation, or flip left to right, or up to down. We can do our flips in here as part of our batch export if you want to. You also can crop your image down here. I think things like cropping image is better done before you bring your image in here, though, personally. Now, below that, you can either select the subject in here using AI detection, and that's what we did when we clicked that start button down there, or you can come in and manually enter an area to have that selected. And down here on refinement, we can have smooth processing, outline emphasis, balance, brightness, or invert the alpha mask. Inverting the alpha mask masks out the subject and leaves the background intact. And that allows you to do things such as putting a background into letters, things like that. Down below, we have export settings. So we can do a single export or a batch export. And you can export up to 3,000 images. Click on that little arrow here. You can change your export format. We have PNG 8 or 16 bits and JPEG as our options. PNG allows you to retain any transparency. So if you're just getting rid of the background, you're not putting in a new background like that, then you want to keep that as one of your two PNG options. I like 16-bit better. The JPEG option will automatically give you a white background, so you normally don't want that one. You can choose a new output path if you want to, browse to a new path, or use the currently selected output path. You also can open that path right here. And then to export, just click on Export. It takes you into that location, and here we go. We have this coming out as a mask and also as our image. So we have those separate. Again, we can then bring this into a different program like Photoshop and bring this in as layers and then use it that way. So very flexible, as you can see. Let's go ahead and put our background back in again on this one. There's the background. Let's export this out. Same thing, we get our two parts of this, plus we get the combined PNG with the background. So there's our image, there's the matte, and there's the combined image with background. Now there is a free trial for this program. You can go ahead and try it out, see if you like it. And I'll put a link for that at the top of the description. And right now, this is the best tool available for removing backgrounds from images, and as you can see here, even more along with that. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, give me a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'm doing new videos all the time, and I'll see you next time.